And we are live. And
Oh, hello, everybody.
they're going offline.
Oh,
There's
ah. Okay, what else? This right
don't-
here?
yeah.
Yep.
Thumbs up, yeah.
Is
yeah,
it just
yeah.
this? What are all of, I only know these, the heart. I need to know all of them. And the thumbs up. I'm trying to, let's see. What would it be? What's the search? OS. There's a few more, aren't there? Or no?
You already named all the ones that I know of.
Oh,
so,
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Hola, everybody. Let's see.
Oh, you know what else I did this weekend? I did a refresh
What?
of my Amazon Echo devices. Several of them had started getting slow and skipping, so I bought some for the Prime sale.
Oh, you mean you bought new one? I thought you meant like you refreshed the software. I was like, oh, what did you have to do there? No, there's nothing you can do.
We got a new 10 for the kitchen, a new 8 for our bedroom, and then we replaced the dots with spots in the girls' bedrooms.
Copy.
Yep.
You guys hear me okay?
Yes, Sarah, we are live.
Oh, hello. Well, so on Friday, I've done this before, but just not in a long time. On Friday, it's hot in my office, and so I was like, I'm just going to use my AirPods, even though I vastly prefer my headphones so I can hear myself.
Yeah.
You just can't get that with Bluetooth right now.
Right.
But it was so much comfier just to not have, because these are like, they're not like hot, but they still are a layer on your head. So I'm still feeling like, can anyone hear me? It just still feels like I'm missing something. Like this morning, because I was doing headlines, it's like I still use them if I'm, I don't know, recording something where I am editing the audio later and stuff like that. But yeah, this is my new afternoon solution because it's hot with no signs of slowing.
Mm-hmm. Not for all week.
Concessions.
I was telling Amos that before we went live. I'm like, well, I'm just praying that next week is really true per the weather app because it says 80s next week, whereas all this week it's 90s.
Yeah, my app, at least when I checked it, well, let's check it again. When I checked it this morning, it said next Tuesday and Wednesday were supposed to be like high 70s.
What?
Oh, party time.
What? Oh,
said.
I see 82.
Yeah, it says Tuesday 78. Although Wednesday
wow.
it says 81. It said 79 a couple hours ago.
Today's high
This
for
is
me
also
will
like
be 69.
more than a week from today, so who even knows?
Yeah, I know it's going to change. It's going to be like,
I mean, it's a good snapshot, but I look every single morning because, the weather changes. But yeah,
it always changes.
We are creeping up pretty much throughout the week. It just keeps getting hotter. So, AirPods it is for live streams. Yep. AirPods it is. And cold lemon water.
I have iced coffee right now.
I don't think the lemon makes you any cooler. It just makes the water more interesting for me.
Well, I think it helps with...
Someone's like, what's the lemon about? I just like it.
No, I think it helps with digestion and helps,
supposedly. Yeah. Kind of helps keep the pipes clean, so to speak. Well, also, it's not that I like drinking water. I like being hydrated. I know I need to just constantly drink water throughout the day. It's good for you. But sometimes I'm just like, I already had a glass of water like an hour ago. So if I make it slightly tasting like something, just a little squeeze of lemon makes all the difference.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I used to buy Emergency in bulk, like, the powdered packets for that very reason. Because I'm like, it's vitamin C, but there's also a lot of sugar in it. They probably have better versions. But I used to love Emergency for like interesting flavored water, but still water.
Yeah. And it keeps you healthy.
It's like Tang with vitamins.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than Kool-Aid. There's also what's the one a lot of people I know rave about? Liquid IV. You can get it at Target. You can get it probably a lot of places, but
it tastes good.
Kind of like Emergency, but more electrolyte focused than kind of keeping the cold away.
Yeah, it's more Gatorade than.
It's more Gatorade, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, because they're sort of almost look like a packet, like a pixie stick. And if you use the whole thing, I'm like, oh, I don't need this. I could only use like a quarter of the powder, and too much at once is a little too Gatorade-y.
Yeah. I've never been a Gatorade girl.
See, I am. I love Gatorade, but if I drink too much of it, it's just, I mean, there's a lot of sugar in it. And the sugar-free Gatorade,
no good.
I don't know. There's something in there that it leaves a funny taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
I don't like it as much.
The Fruit Punch G2 is my favorite Gatorade.
Lemon lime for me.
See, I can't do lemon lime. That's what my
I know.
parents,
Lemon lime is a very polarizing Gatorade flavor.
My mom and my grandma always gave me lemon lime flavored stuff when I was sick, so it brings back memories.
When my mom earlier this year, my mom broke her leg, and so she, when I was helping her out in the early days, I mean, she really needed she had to lay in bed all day. And they had suggested, you want, lots of hydration, because she had to take medication and stuff like that. Gatorade, got to, do, before surgery, everything. And I went and got her all this Gatorade, and she was like, lemon lime, that's the only kind I don't like. And I'm like, all right. I'll go back to the store and get a different flavor.
Sorry, I was messing around with some headphones situation here. Got lots of focus.
Worries.
Mr. Portney in the chat says, "What do you think what do you think old technology wise for the next AirPods Max? What do you think it'll take technology wise for the next AirPods Max to get lossless wirelessly? And is it possibly anything soon?" I think the next AirPods Max will get lossless wireless. I think that will be a thing because the AirPods Pro has it now, the new USB-C ones.
Do the AirPods Max, I mean, they're wireless, right, Eileen?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I've been using my wireless.
You can't get lossless audio?
I mean...
That doesn't make much sense to me.
I don't really listen for lossless audio. So I have been listening
it's
for
not a deal breaker
spatial.
for me either.
No, I've been listening for spatial because, I've been trying to like spatial a little bit more. And I noticed that lossless is there, but it, sometimes it says it's playing. But are you guys saying that it really isn't? I don't know. It says it shows up. And the reason why I say it says it shows up, it's up, whenever I play a song. And I also have music haptics. And when that's paused, it says paused on it. So I don't know. I honestly have not been listening for lossless, but why don't I, this week listen for that? I've just been hunting down spatial audio. Like, does this sound good? Yeah, maybe this sounds good. I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. Porty says it's only 256 kilobits per second wirelessly currently. See, I listen to so many podcasts these days, and I listen to music, but almost only in my car. I don't know why. I'm in a phase where I just, if I'm gonna go on a walk or go to the gym or something, I want to give me an hour podcast and I'm good to go. When it's music, I don't know. I jump around too much, and I end up fiddling with my phone more than I want to. But
to be honest with
doesn't
you,
really matter as much.
I probably listen to music the most on YouTube. I mean, wow. My preferred player is Spotify, but I've been listening more and more to Apple Music. But I got to tell you, I probably listen to way more music on YouTube than anywhere else because I listen to a lot of compilations. I listen to a lot of people who make just playlists of things. And I let them determine, or I let the algorithm just go from music video to music video to music video. I don't actually listen to the music app in YouTube. Sometimes I do, but not really. I just kind of find big, like hour-long chunk playlists and just listen to those that people have made.
What I will do is I'll take those big playlists like that, and usually they have a Spotify link for the playlist in Spotify.
And then go there.
And I put that into an app that converts that into an Apple Music playlist, and then I listen to that.
Oh, you have to convert from Spotify to Apple Music. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, most people make Spotify playlists. I don't know if it's just easier or who knows.
I don't know, but
maybe they don't have an
Spotify.
Yeah, maybe they don't have an Apple Music device. Who knows? Anyway, that's I will pay attention to Lossless this week.
Well, Lawn Dog says they're here, so I think we should start.
It's good to have permission.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
All right. Let's
Okay. All right. Well, if we're all ready, and Eileen, I just added some bullet points to that first story because I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And
sounds great.
We'll just go from there.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's do this. Thanks to everybody for being part of our live stream, for those of you who are. For everyone else, you won't even hear any of this. I'll count myself in 3, 2. Hey everybody, welcome back to Apple Vision Show. This is episode 25, where Eileen Rivera and I cover all things Apple. Hi Eileen, how are you?
Sarah, what is up? Happy another Monday. The 25th
another
Monday,
yes,
together.
As we're recording this.
Yeah, I hate to keep talking about puppies, but I'm a little more relaxed this week because he's in daycare. He's in puppy daycare, getting
I saw a video or some sort of slideshow of Seven looking like he's really enjoying puppy daycare.
He loves puppy daycare, and then sometimes I think, does he even want to come home? But no, it's funny because I thought, I will get all this stuff done while he's in daycare before the show. No, I just kind of spaced out, had lunch, had iced coffee. I thought for sure I'd be more productive. I didn't even fold my laundry. I was just like, wow, I have some time. I don't have to be, what's he doing? Kind of thing.
Yeah. I have that situation all the time where I somehow free up a couple of hours that I don't normally have. And I think, or at least I know ahead of time it's going to happen. And I think, it's going to be great. I'm going to get so ahead. And I figure out ways to just, I don't know, ruin it. And
ruin it. Yeah.
Like play crossword online or something. Just
that's not bad either. I did reread the articles for our show. I was like, let me make sure I remember what we were doing for our show today.
Yeah.
So I did do something a little, not that I don't do that, normally, but I felt like I had more brain capacity to think that through. So sorry if that's boring, you guys, but it was just one of those like pleasures, like, I have a choice. I can open up the doors. I don't have to think, somebody's going to chew my shoe or something like that. So
right. Well, if there's more puppy talk to be had in this show and future shows, I'm here for it.
Thank you.
And all the puppy haters out there, we've got bones to pick with you. Get it? Yeah.
I got you, Sarah. I got that.
Real comedian over here. Yeah. Full of jokes. So every week we talk about a combination of news that we think is interesting, especially from the lifestyle perspective. I mean, we know that there are a lot of places to get hard-hitting news that includes Apple News, and sometimes we talk about that on the show, but we really try to think of this as, hey, we're people who are here, us hosting the show, and you as the listener of the show that are part of a community of people who love Apple. We might have criticisms of Apple. We might want things from Apple that we don't have yet. And this is a show that tries to examine that from all angles. One of the interesting things that was a story that came out, I don't know if it was over the weekend or early this morning. I think it was over the weekend. I think I saw this yesterday. Was that Apple TV show spending is a little out of control, Eileen.
Yeah.
And there's, we might say, well, what's the deal? Apple TV Plus is where you can find all sorts of original shows, and the studio behind that has also been behind some major motion pictures, and obviously that's big budget stuff with big name talent. Those talented people have to get paid. It's like A-list Hollywood folks kind of stuff, and so it doesn't surprise me that these budgets are big, but it does sound like because Apple is competing with the Netflixes, the Disney Pluses, the Paramount Pluses, the Peacocks, and all sorts of stuff that is not free and people have choices to make. Unless Apple TV Plus subscriber growth is just rocketing, depending on which way you're looking, up and to the right, then Apple's going to have a problem. Now you might say, well, doesn't Apple have like all the money in the world? Well, sure, but this is a small part of what Apple's doing. I mean, Apple TV Plus didn't even launch until 2019, so it's very much still in the prove yourself part of it being a thing. Even though you got a lot of shows that get good ratings, winning awards, critical acclaim, all that stuff only matters so much when you have a pretty small slice of overall, television watching. If you compare Apple to something like Netflix, Netflix had its earnings report last week. Good quarter, 277 million subscribers around the world, reaching, and with reach of more than 600 people around the world. I mean, Netflix has been the household name for a really long time. Apple has a very small portion of Netflix's reach in the U.S. alone. This is according to Nielsen, and Nielsen can be a little bit limiting because it's only counting views on certain devices. But Apple is attracting 0.2% of TV viewing. So a long way to go. And that's U.S. centric. So it could be a little bit different in other places. But Eileen, what do you make of this? Does Apple, I like Apple TV Plus a lot because I just like a lot of the shows that it offers. But I can see where any studio that's just bleeding money is going to have a little bit of a come to Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, Apple over the short tenure of its Apple Television Originals existence has done very well at just kind of growing slowly, handpicking and not making like a ton of orders out there. So they're really, because at the beginning there was like hardly anything out there to choose from. People are like wondering, where is this going? Well, slowly but surely they have grown. But as someone who came from the entertainment industry, I could tell you it's not good out there right now. Not just because of the strikes last year. Everyone is bleeding. Probably Netflix is doing well because they've got the lion's share, but it doesn't mean that they're in, the best of shape either, because quite frankly, the entertainment industry is in shambles right now. There's tons of cost cutting. I know tons of people that work in the industry. No one's safe. So it's not a surprise that Apple, they have a budget, and the primary part of their budget is for products and hardware and computing devices. So venturing into the entertainment industry was something very new for them, and they are not going to be, immune from potential cutbacks because they're not seeing as much return. Because the viewing, the consumer. Talk about the film industry. They're in shambles. There's only a few titles that are doing well in theaters. And then in streaming, if you think about just behavior, so many of us are watching things at many different times. If you're going to have a Netflix show that comes out all 8 episodes, I bet you there's so many different people that are like, well, I haven't seen that yet, but I'll get to it. They will get to it, but 3 months later. So you're getting a lot of data that's kind of all over the place, right? That's kind of like, nobody's watching all at the same time. Maybe House of Dragon is getting clear data because they're doing their weekly run. But some of these streaming, and I don't think there's been any kind of perfection as to, how to present the data. And by the way, every production house, every platform is going to present their data in a different way. There's no uniform standard. So, I mean, there's like, give us a number, which, okay, I guess that sounds good. And then obviously subscribers too, if you know the number of subscribers. But we're still in the sort of wild west of streaming and wild west of where content consumption is going to be. So I am not surprised that there's going to be any cuts at all. It's just bad out there for the entertainment industry right now. And it'll bounce back eventually, but we're just in that time. Everyone has a dip, and then we'll come back, but it's going to be another couple years, and then like I mentioned, that strike did not help things, a couple years ago. So we're still reeling from that as well.
There was an interesting metric I read in this article from Bloomberg that Apple TV Plus generates less viewing in a month than Netflix does in one day. Now, on its face, you go, whoa, wow, that's crazy. Netflix is just running away with this. Well, Netflix, again, been around for a while, has had many years of international growth, and just has a huge catalog. I mean, people are watching, the Friends, the series, over and over sometimes because it's just there. I mean, stuff moves on and off of Netflix. It's not perfect, but that's a very apples and oranges comparison. Yeah. But to your point about the strike and budgets in general, this was actually an interesting anecdote on the show Severance, which is an Apple TV Plus original. It's only had one season so far, which was great. One of the best shows I've seen in the last decade. Absolutely loved it. Very dystopian kind of mind game sort of show. Again, lots of stars in that show. And that premiered in 2022. Apparently because of COVID, and which had again a big a huge negative effect on people being in person on a soundstage or on set or whatever, being able to get creative stuff done. That show had been in production for quite some time, and so 2022 was later than the team wanted to air it, but they simply couldn't get it out the door until then. Then the writer's strike became an issue, and we now have Severance coming back. What did we say? It was next spring?
January. I think it's January. Yeah.
Okay, so still, it's
still
almost
6 months from now. Yeah, almost.
Yeah, 6 months. I mean, to the point where I'm gonna have to watch season 1 again because I need it fresh. The details, totally. I know the plot, but like the details, I've kind of lost them. But that was 2 years ago. But Ben Stiller, obviously very famous actor, but also EP and director for Severance, told Decider, which is like an industry magazine, in an interview that it was frustrating working with Apple because they don't even give the production teams numbers. Apple will kind of go like, things are good, or we might have to do some cutbacks, but you don't have a lot. Like, as a creative person working with Apple, you don't get a lot of information. In fact, he says they don't tell you the numbers. It's really weird. So you get these graphs and charts, but they have peaks and valleys. You don't know what the baseline is. I guess could be like based on 100 people or 200 million people. We don't know. Stiller said, they basically say, yeah, this is doing well. So you try to interpret what they're saying. So not only do we as, I don't know, people who are reporting on some of these numbers or just general public in general, it's all sort of cloaked in mystery, but that must be frustrating for a team who is, a show like Severance, I'm going to guess, costs a lot of money because it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, there's got to be some pretty expensive set stuff going on, and a lot of post-production, and it's a great show. It's very high quality show, even if you don't like the subject matter. But these shows aren't cheap. So for a team to be told like, hey, you're doing great. You know what? We're going to cut down your budget in half. Or, you had 7 days to shoot on location and now you have 3.
Right.
But it's a great show. And to not really know how many people that's going to affect, but know that is going to affect the quality on some level on your side, that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I used to work for streaming and like very much had the same experience as Ben Stiller, which is like, what are these numbers? What does this mean? What like the minutes within the hour, there's just no real answer for a lot of people, because again, it's new. And so nobody knows how to interpret the streaming numbers yet, which is so frustrating, because like you want to get better and you want to know, oh, the audience liked this, like you see on YouTube, you could tell this is the most rewound part of this video, or they drop off at like 40 seconds instead of 10 seconds. So, maybe I need to make my open better, or, my open's pretty good. How do I keep them there? There's stuff like that. Just as a creative person, you need to know in order to keep going. But when you are like working with like an answer like that, it's good. What part's good? Do they like the actors? Is this storyline working?
Right.
Or is this storyline working? Like, which part is working? Like, do we have enough episodes?
Well, yeah.
Or should it be longer? Should it be shorter?
Is the focus group a bunch of people sitting in an Apple conference room? Did they call people on the phone? I mean, no,
I gotta tell you,
probably not.
I feel like focus groups are not always that good. Sorry. In my experience, I'm like, who did you get in this room? Like, do they even really know? Because you want a general consumer, but you want some fans. And I just feel like sometimes focus groups miss the part.
It's like picking a jury.
It is. It's totally like picking a jury.
Where you're like, well, hold on a second. This juror shouldn't even be here. They've got way too many opinions coming into this.
They fell asleep. Did you see that show Jury Duty on Amazon, by the way? With oh my God, what's his name? It's a reality show where they basically tricked the guy. Guy. Oh my God. There is a reality. Sorry to jump from Apple to Amazon, but there is a great show that a friend of mine was like, you need to watch Jury Duty. It was a reality show because everyone around this one person was an actor. And they were playing a part. James Marsden, he was the most popular in this. James Marsden was in this. And they shot this during COVID. It is so freaking funny. But there was a scene where one of the jurors was like falling asleep. And they were like, you need to wake up so you can pay attention. And the quote unquote judge was like, I'm sorry for also the person that was the one real person was the foreman for the jury. So he had to like keep people in check and everybody was acting around him. Anyway, you got to watch. It's really funny. And I think
I'll
it was
watch it.
Nominated for Emmys.
I love a good reality show.
It's just funny the way it all unfolded. And then the way they like, finally at the end when they tell him, you're like, what is his reaction going to be? But it's hilarious because James Marsden of all people plays up being an actor. Like, I don't think he's like that the way he was trying to portray himself, but he was like, oh, because I worked with this director, I will get off jury duty. Oh, well, I'm on jury duty now, so I'm like the most important person, like stuff like that. Like he's not kind of like that. Anyway, back to focus groups and Apple. It's really hilarious. And it's short. It's like half hour. It's so funny. Yes, Will Scott, there's one real I'm just answering his question. Oh yeah, there's one real person and everyone else everyone is actors. They had to come up with a way to sequester the jury and all that stuff, but it's you got to watch it. So that's my Amazon pick of the week.
I would even if this was an Apple show, I mean, I'll watch it because it sounds funny, but if that were actually me, it's like Punk'd. Remember Punk'd on MTV?
Yes.
Same idea where it's like this scenario where, the celebrity's going to freak out for a while. And at the end, they're like, gotcha. We're not really repossessing your Corvette. And I remember like just being like, if it were me, I'd be so mad. Like I'd probably try to be good natured for the cameras. And then I'd be like, don't you ever do that to me again. You made me look like a fool.
He was a very no one do that to me. Person. Luckily, they casted this guy who was such a good-natured person, and you could tell throughout the show he was trying to do the right thing. He never was shady or like he was literally the nicest guy, and so that's why they got pulled. I guess he's friends with everybody still and stuff like that. So anyway, but yeah, focus groups. Like how do you know how well your show is going if you don't really have good data? So Ben Stiller, totally gotcha. I feel like the industry doesn't know how to measure these shows that are on streaming, and you're just like playing to God in a way. I'm not quite sure how Netflix does it, to be honest with you, like how granular they get with their numbers. To the actual creators. I mean, to the audience, we never, like we're always, it seems like they're revealing numbers slowly and surely.
And you get the numbers that the company is proud of.
Exactly.
That's another part of it is, if a company feels like this is, bragging rights because enough people watched the series finale of Ted Lasso, which a lot of people did, you might get, a good press release from the company about that. Yeah. And Apple is, when it comes to hardware and software, not a perfect company, but definitely prides itself on being the best, quality, having the best engineers under the hood, having the best and brightest, having, the best supply chain contacts. I mean, that's Apple. That is at least what Apple wants people to think of Apple as. And it has always been that way. It's always been, we're different. It just works. Best phone ever made. Best materials ever dug out of a mine. All of that stuff is, that's the Apple way. And, you can't fault the company for doing that. But when it comes to content, and again, in 2019, I remember being like, they're getting into original content? That seems kind of strange. I mean, frankly, the way I felt about the Apple Vision Pro at first, I was like, they're getting into VR? And the Apple Car, which is not happening anymore. They're going to make a car? There's certain things that Apple does either, rumored to be working on or actually does trot out to the public. Apple Watch, even. Back in the day, I was like,
I remember.
A watch? Like, watches already exist. Like, how are they going to reinvent the watch? I mean, that was very short-sighted of me because I love my Apple Watch now, and smartwatches in general do very well. But the original content was one of those situations because I'm like, well, like, the people at Apple aren't making the content. I mean, in some cases, Apple, it's an in-house team, but it's not like Tim Cook is becoming a film director.
No, they're hiring experts. Yeah.
Right. Or they're working, with outside teams. Exactly. And it sounds like Apple is, again, from 2019 to now, math is hard, 5 years ago. It sounds like the company is wanting to bring down some costs. And that's just, that's a financial decision, makes perfect sense. And also acquire some programming that it didn't have as direct a hand in. And that can be kind of risky because if you have less control over the finished product, then you have less control over the quality, potentially. So I'd be willing to bet that it'll still be around in another 5 years. I don't think Apple TV Plus is going away.
No,
I certainly hope not.
I think they're doing well enough to stay. They certainly have enough accolades. We'll see how Brad Pitt's movie does. It's reportedly $300 million for this movie, the F1 movie,
and he got 250 of it.
You know what?
But he probably got a lot of it.
A lot of the, they're hiring these big name actors that are going to command a dollar, right? Even a discount is still a huge chunk of the budget. So, and I think Apple will probably do what they need to do and cut the stuff that's just not doing as well as even if they love it, they'll just make less movies than than they were planning or thinking they would project to do for the next couple years. So they're not immune. If they're going to jump into the entertainment industry, there's going to be things that are going to be very similar, like any other company that's in the entertainment industry. And like I said, unfortunately, it's not a good time. So they'll keep the good stuff, though. I'm sure there'll be another Severance if Severance does well, like it should. So I think if you have some favorites on there, sorry if it gets cut, but it seems like all the best stuff will brew up and continue, and it's just the way it goes. Oh.
Well, another thing that is going to be, well, I don't know how much the Olympics are going to get in ratings this year, but I, for one, am excited. Opening ceremonies on Friday.
Yep.
And they take place in Paris, so there's certainly going to be either time delay stuff that you watch, or you're going to have to get creative with times of day, depending on what kind of hours you keep, unless you live in a very convenient time zone. Mm-hmm. But it's gotten easier than ever. You know what's weird, Eileen, is the Summer Olympics are my favorite. I like the Winter Olympics too, but the Summer Olympics are the one if I had to choose. Gymnastics and swimming, and it's just kind of my thing. And so I'm excited about it. And because the 2020 Olympics in Japan, Tokyo, right? Yeah. And they were delayed because of COVID. Yeah, so that was weird.
Oh, yeah.
And there was all this stuff of like, should they even do the Olympics? Because they had sort of a pared down series of games in 2021, and it was So I didn't really even watch it. It was just kind of off my radar. And then London in 2022, I got back into. And so here we are in 24, yes, every 2 years, and back on track with the Olympics, and I'm pumped. I want to watch it. So I think that Apple's doing some fun stuff. If you happen to be in the area during the games, all of it or part of it, Apple Maps is getting some cool updates, so you can see these kind of 3D in color representations of the Coliseum where some of the games are being played. It's as Olympics go, because there are so many different sports that require seating for the attendees, and volleyball courts and a track and pools. They tend to be kind of spread out in any city that they end up being in. So you've got all of these areas that you've got for example, a large auditorium, but not only that, but all of the surrounding areas with, updated traffic and just stuff that would be really, really relevant if you happen to be lucky enough to be around and be going to some of those games.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm actually excited about the games as well. I feel like, growing up, we used to pause everything, for the Olympics. And I don't know that we really pause things anymore for it, but I wonder if this will be one, because, we're getting it here in Los Angeles in 4 years. So that will be very interesting when that happens. So the interest in the games, I've always had.
I am not interested in this for my own traffic sanity alone. I mean, I work from home, so I shouldn't complain much, but that's gonna be interesting.
There's supposed to be train systems built. I don't trust anything anymore for that to happen, but we'll see. We'll see.
We will see. I mean, in 4 years, I don't know. You guys have some work to do.
There's a lot of work to do. But yeah, I mean, I think gymnastics also for me is probably one of the most anticipated. Swimming. I don't know any of the athletes this time in swimming. And the track and field, of course. I'm trying to think of all the different, events for summer, but I don't know. I used to think I liked winter better because I loved ice skating so much, but no, summer is also, I don't really care for winter so much, so it's fun to watch winter sports and just not be involved. But
yeah, like the people who do they ski off the thing and do all the flips. I'm like, that's not I'm not capable of doing that, so I might as well watch you do it.
Yeah,
not even gonna try.
Exactly. So I'll probably be glued to watching the Olympics, and I am going into it blind. Apart from Simone Biles, I am going into this completely blind. I don't know who the athletes are, and I always end up watching the stories and learning about the families and all that good stuff. So, no, I'm excited for whatever is to come this year. Good luck to France. Hope it works out for them.
Well, what's interesting is Apple. Other companies are doing it too, but Apple is going to have an official Paris 2024 Olympics app. Which, if it's like some of the apps that, they do this every year. NBC and Peacock are going to have their own apps that will be in the App Store as well. And they've gotten better and better. Some of them, I even noticed this on YouTube TV, which I watched through my Apple TV in the living room. When I jumped on yesterday, it was recommending like a variety of Olympics feeds. Like, do you want the full feed? Do you want the gymnastics feed? Do you want the diving feed? Do you want the, javelin? I mean, it was like they were so specific about the stuff that you could just be like, I want that on my watch list.
That's amazing.
So I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, it didn't used to be that granular, so that's kind of fun. Especially because that way I can just, when I have time, when I'm sitting down for dinner or, I'm not working anymore, I can be like, all right, let's catch up on this stuff. And because it used to be before, in the olden times, you just watched it live. And if you were sleeping, oh, well, or you would get like overly packaged versions of like who won,
So true.
I mean, even when there was internet, there was a time where it really felt like a live experience. And then the internet would just ruin everything. It was like, you knew that Michael Phelps won way before you were ever going to catch it on TV because it wasn't even necessarily on NBC at 3 a.m. They were like, I don't know, they would like play the match later type thing. I do remember the first, I guess, year that the iPad was a thing. The Olympics were in, I guess it was also London. Is that right? Did they go back to? No, that can't be right.
2010.
2010. No, what am I thinking? Athens? Anyway, this is something I could look up on the internet. But it was the first time that I was able to, because I would sometimes go to the gym in the morning and just have my iPad like on the bike, and I could like look at live feeds of the relative sports that were happening, and sometimes like different angles. They wouldn't have announcers or commentary or even like chyrons telling you what was going on. It was this like very weird, like voyeuristic experience. Like I felt like I was just in the stands watching it. Without this kind of overly produced final version. I mean, both are fine, but it was really neat. And I think we've gotten better from there because clearly they want you to watch. I mean,
they do.
We can't all go to the Olympic Games. So a company like Apple is going to be like, we're going to give you every easy way to watch so that you trust us and come back to us for all your Olympic coverage.
You just reminded me, diving. You know what I watched last time? Yachting or like boat race. It was very interesting, only because the commentary was really, really good. And beach volleyball. Did you watch any of that? Like, anyway, now I'm getting super excited. Oh, equestrian. One of my dogs used to love equestrian. So I wonder if Seven, if I show him,
I've always really liked fencing too, because fencing is just, it's just, it seems scary, and they've got the, when you hit somebody, and I'm just like, this is so weird, and then you just kind of like decide you like the one more than the other, and you're rooting for them. I mean, that's sort of the fun of it.
I think there's only a few that I'm not super interested in, only because I watch them as a sport, like tennis. I'd prefer to watch Wimbledon than, to me, them winning Wimbledon or the US Open or Australian or French Open, I don't know, feels more important than the Olympics for just that sport to me, for their careers. But I could be wrong, tennis athletes.
I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel that way about the US basketball team.
Yes, I was about to say that. Basketball too.
And they're like the best players in the US, you know what I mean? Like it's like a super team, and other countries are obviously doing the same. It's like there's nothing wrong with that, and I'll still watch.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, the NBA, that's why I watch
that. You got the NBA. It's totally, So there's just a few. I think I feel the same way about baseball, although most of the baseball players don't go because they're in season right now.
Right.
And was it soccer? Yeah, soccer. Soccer's one. No, soccer's good. Or football, sorry. For those of you who want that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll be watching the next couple weeks. I think it'll be fun.
I will too. I want something, not that there's no shortage of shows and movies for me to watch.
I know, seriously.
I just like write them down and hope I remember to come back to them. Because there's so much. It's a great problem to have. But at the same time, it's such a world of streaming that I don't watch much live programming unless it's sports. And right now, there aren't really sports that I'm in sort of the summer slump. I mean, you got baseball, but there's a time where it's like football and basketball and baseball and there's just sports, and then there's hockey and all that stuff. So summer sometimes feels a little bit slower to me, but otherwise not a lot of stuff that is like time sensitive. So that's always fun. That's always fun. Or award shows. I guess there's that too.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got the Olympics. We also have iOS public beta that is out. I downloaded it or installed it on my phone last week. Went off without a hitch. Eileen, you had showed off some of the differences that you noticed a couple weeks ago on our show because you had the beta earlier than I did. And, I looked at some of the stuff that, all the write-ups had said, oh, this is a little bit different or this is a little bit better. It's pretty not dramatic to me. I think you can focus on the things that like, oh, I can really make my home screen look different. But like my home screen works for me. I don't care that I don't want to like hide the settings app. There's certain customization things that I know people care about because it's like, I just want the option to do what I want. Totally get that. I sometimes can be a little set in my ways, or I'm like, unless you really convince me that I'm going to just like change it up, I kind of like things the way that they are.
Yeah.
Because I want to look at my phone and not be like, where did my Instagram app go? So that's just probably me in my old age. But yeah, it was a clean install, that's for sure. Had no issues. I kind of let it go and forgot about it for a couple hours, so I'm not sure exactly how long it took. It was longer than, your general little software bump, certainly. Yeah. But it wasn't more than a couple hours.
Yeah, no. And I think for those of you diving in, you can now, if you go to beta.apple.com and register your Apple ID, and then, you'll get your public beta. Just a couple things to note. Like one thing I forgot to mention was that like my phone got super duper hot.
Mine too.
I think,
yes.
I think it's, with each update, it'll get better, but that's just the norm. Like there's just been a couple times where I'm like, I'm killing a bunch of apps because I'm like, I don't know what's running that's making it super hot, but like, oh my gosh, it was almost too hot to touch, my phone. So there's, and then there are some apps like, even on my browser. So I'm taking these virtual dog training classes, and all of a sudden I cannot do virtual conferencing on my phone through the app or through the browser. It just stopped working, and it works fine on Tom's because he didn't update to the beta. So I was like, oh, that must be me. So there might be a few things that minor inconveniences that you can't do that you'll discover just by using it. But
right.
And then
and that's why it's a
weird.
beta thing.
Exactly.
know?
So just know that your mileage will vary, and I think it's just fun to kind of explore. But to your point, these are nice upgrades, but it's nothing earth shattering. Nothing will be earth shattering until we get the AI situation going on. But I do like the control panel, the extended control panel, and the music that you get with. I don't know. There's three different pages there. I like that. And yeah, I think they're incremental updates, but they're needed, and I think they're good. So yeah, there's some that are just wonky and that won't really work for you in your life, but that's okay. I just choose to ignore the things that don't work for me, and then kind of
Yeah.
discover like, oh, this is very cool. So yeah, I mean, they had to update something, otherwise, what are you doing, Apple? Just leaving things status quo? That's boring. So I guess
Yeah,
let us know if you use
it's
it.
good. Yeah, I haven't noticed with regular use of my phone the heat issue, but when you said overheating, when I was done installing the iOS 18 beta, because by the time it was done, I had kind of sat back down, so it was timed well. So it had just kind of restarted the device, and I picked it up and I was like, "Whoa!" It was so hot. It was like, have you ever been out in the sun? Like maybe it's a summer day, you're sitting
Yes.
by the pool and you got your phone, and the phone itself will be like, "It's too hot out here." Like
Yeah.
danger,
Yeah.
Will Robinson.
Yes.
Hasn't happened to me in a while, but like it will be like it's dangerously too hot for your iPhone. It was
Yeah.
that hot. And I
Eesh.
was,
Yeah.
this is like in my office, with the shades semi drop, like it
Oh
wasn't that
wow.
hot in here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't the room, it was the phone. And I was like, seems really hot. Like, don't want to start a fire here at my desk,
No.
but it's fine.
No.
It's been fine now, at least as far as, everything that I'm doing on it. And again, like I've said before, I'm kind of a weird outlier. I don't use my iPhone that much unless I'm out and about. I mean, sometimes I'm out and about, but like I don't use it at home really because I like the bigger screens of my
Like your
desktop
laptop.
and my laptop. Yeah,
Well,
I
that'll
just
be
do.
interesting too. Now, I haven't installed the Mac OS. I haven't done anything to my Apple TV. I haven't tried any of those betas yet. So that'll be interesting to kind of potentially try those. I'm on the fence whether or not to do that, but maybe,
I
maybe.
meant to install Sequoia over the weekend. I know that I'm taking my life into my hands sometimes because I'm like, this is my work computer, and if I brick
Yeah.
it, then I'm kind of screwed. But
Yeah.
I just want to, and I've really never had that happen. But I do.
Yeah.
There's a little voice inside my head being like, you have to work at this system, so don't ruin your system. Unless you are prepared to buy a new system.
Yeah.
But I forgot, so I haven't installed it yet. I will let y'all know by next week. I'll summon up the courage to do it. Muster
Yeah,
up the courage to do it.
the recommendation on an article I found just kind of outlining iOS 18 public beta was like, it's better to use it on a second phone. Well, how many of us have second phones? How many of
I
us
don't
have
have a
second
second
phone?
phone.
So same with the OS, right? It's like how many of us have multiple computers? You might have like a Mac Mini and then your laptop, but yeah, I would like to
That's
try it on the
true.
device. I would like to try it
That's
on the device
true.
that I use the most, so that I am trying it out, not just
Yeah.
trying like on the side, but like I know that this is going to work for me. But like you said,
Right.
it could be dangerous if things don't work. But
Yeah. I
uh,
mean, that's very true. I'm lucky and very lucky enough to have, between my iPhone, my Mac Mini, and my MacBook Air, three systems that I can do not exactly the same things on, but almost everything can be done on one of those devices. So I could take one for the team and use it on my MacBook Air and not the Mac Mini that I use now. The thing is like the MacBook Air is an M1 though. The Mac Mini, my Mac Mini is kind of old, circa
yeah,
2018. So
you're going to get rid of
you're
that soon anyway.
I
You're going to get
know,
a new
I
one.
know. Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
need to. I don't. I keep finding other stupid stuff to buy on Amazon and not getting the Mac Mini that I actually do need. In fact, I noticed that so Chat GPT now has a desktop app, This is not today's news. This is like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, cool, desktop app. Love desktop apps because I love my desktop. And so I, I install it and, drag it to my applications and, what you do. And I load it and it's like, oh, you don't have an M1. And I'm like, darn it, not again. I need an M1. I mean, not having ChatGPT on desktop is not ruining my life, but it's like, man, that's just one more thing I can't do. Yeah, I need to get a new Mac Mini because I love the Mac Mini. It's a sign. Yeah, it's a sign.
It's a big sign.
And the Mac Mini chugs. It does weird things here and there. In fact, I had for anybody who uses Logic Pro on a non-M1 machine is crappy. If you have better, my Mac Mini is not going to be even as robust as one of the older MacBook Pros. So your mileage may vary, but if you've noticed Logic being weird, you are not alone. That's an intensive program. Yeah, I get like weird buffer overflow errors all the time, and it's just the poor Mac Mini being like, too much, Sarah, please.
Please stop
bouncing all these files.
Too many. No, I can't handle that. Oh, poor thing. Well,
yeah,
its time may be coming.
Well, we also have rumors because this is what happens, especially as we inch through, as we amble, trod through the summer, is what kind of iPhone we're going to get in September. Now, Apple could totally throw a wrench in all of this and surprise everybody, but if history is repeating itself, which it often does with Apple, we will get a new iPhone announcement mid-September. With shipping happening usually early October. It usually happens right around my birthday, so it's usually something like September announcement, and you start getting your units the following month. Article on Forbes says gonna be September 10th. Now Forbes may be I don't know, clairvoyant and know things that we don't, but Apple has not announced this. It's just, again, historically, Apple does things a certain way. The iPhone announcement cycle, as far as product, and hardware goes, really hasn't changed much in quite some time. No. So I think we can, whether it's the 10th or the 11th or the 9th, I doubt they would do September 11th. That just wouldn't be a thing that Apple would do. Yeah, so let's go with the 10th. Let's say it's the 10th. And there are, a variety of rumors of how it's going to be different. One of those rumors is a new color, a rose.
Ooh, yeah, rose color. Yeah. I mean, we've had rose in the past. I think rose gold. Rose gold. Do you care?
Yeah.
Do you care about the colors at all?
Well, I when the first iPhone was offered in rose gold, which was really just the back. This is before even Macs were offered in that rose gold, because my MacBook Air is, they call it gold, but it's very much a rose gold. In fact, some people don't like that. I love it. I think it's great. But when rose gold was first introduced in the iPhone, that would have been something like the iPhone 8, maybe even 10. I think it was more like the 8. I was like, let's try it. And I remember I got a lot of compliments like, oh, that is a nice color. I loved it. It's a little bit more like, you get a lot of things in that rose gold, but more of like a rose, which to me says more of a pink. I don't know if that's too much rose.
Yeah. I think it's nice to have more feminine colors, but I'm happy with just a white. I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm like, I don't know if I really care anymore, because I can put a case on it, and although it's really a question for you, Sarah, because, you run without the case. For me, I'm like, well, I could just cover it up, but I got the white last time, and then I ended up just getting a clear case. So it's just, I guess I don't really care as much, but I probably will lean towards, another white or a gold. I don't know about the rose. If it was rose gold, I had one of those back in the day, and I had like the iridescent purple a couple of versions ago, but it's nice to have, but not needed. If I had to go black, I'll go black. I'll go gray or something if I had to.
I mean, I always say that anything that's offered to me in gold, because I just love gold, the color gold earrings. My Apple Watch is, even though it's really just a tiny little bezel, it's gold.
Yeah.
I've always chosen iPhones and Macs and not even just Apple products, but specifically Apple products, gold.
Yeah.
I happen to have a black iPhone currently. Thank you, Lamar Wilson, who helped me procure an iPhone 15 because I was rocking the 13 previously. In fact, I do still have the 13. Nothing bad happened to it, so I guess I could use that as a backup.
There you go.
I had kind of forgotten
there
about
you go.
that. Yeah. But I remember, I think, I don't know, someone said to me, just because I'm always talking about how much I like gold, someone was like, but I mean, do you just hate the black? And I'm like, oh no, I don't even think about it. It's not really that much of my identity at the end of the day.
No,
it really isn't.
I thought it would be. And when you pick which one you want, I kind of try and navigate to one that, is really dazzling to the eyes. But at the end of the day, do you know how many times I just have my phone down and not looking at the back?
Right.
Yeah. And like I said, for a lot of us, we're just covering it up with, I don't know, a fun, funky cover anyways, a case. So I don't know. I mean, yay for pink. To me, it looks like pink, the rose color. But
it looks it looks pinker than a rose gold.
It's fine. it's fine.
I was just looking at I don't know. Sometimes I try to get like the temperature check of the public in general, and X, formerly Twitter, is sometimes a good place to do that because someone's always going to be talking about it, and then you have people fighting in the comments, and you're just like, okay, so nobody can ever agree on anything. And you'd be surprised. Well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but I was surprised how many people hate the rose gold, and also to some extent the gold, just like it's gaudy, or too girly, you hear that sometimes, which is totally unfair, but whatever. And, I just think, it takes all kinds that's why it's nice to have options.
Yeah.
If the iPhone was only a black option, the people who loved iPhones would just get that, and that just would be it. But now when you've got choice, then you can just say, well, I like this more than this. And I'm with you on the clear case.
Yeah.
I don't use cases, and it's almost always really, when I explain that to someone who's just like, Sarah, that's crazy. What if you drop it? Like, wouldn't you be so sad? And I'm like, yeah, and it's happened so many times to me. But really, I mean, I have a mental problem, but I like the design and the feel of it so much that I don't want to cover it. And cases can be super cool and be stylish in their own way, of course. Talk about choice. But I'm like, it just defeats the purpose to me. I just want to feel the naked iPhone.
Do you have Apple Care so you could just replace it anytime you break it?
I don't have Apple Care on this particular.
Oh, no. Okay. So, no. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm a wild
You are
woman.
riding dangerously. Wow.
I know.
Okay.
I know. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I make dumb choices sometimes, but a clear case, especially because, remember the days where cases were like big and plasticky and like made the phone feel just cheap, like and those. It's like those aren't. I mean, the cases of today, I'm aware, are really really nice. And a clear case, you don't unless you want it to draw attention to itself, it doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't. I just have it for protection, and I have it just to keep a peace of mind. And I always just get the Apple clear case on the day because all the other manufacturers, it's going to take a while to get those new cases generally. Right. And I don't want to wait. I want to have my case immediately. So I just go to the Apple store and get it, or order it with the phone and just be done. Clear, match this phone. Thank you. Good night. and then I think about changing the case all year round. And then as it gets closer, because I have the upgrade program, so I get a new phone every year. I think like at this point, I'm like, oh, yeah, let me look at those cases. But in 3 months, I'm going to get a new phone. So that's going to obsolete the case that I just bought. So then I just don't do it.
Yeah, unless the case happens to just perfectly fit both phones, and that's almost
Never
never the
does.
case because
Never, ever
the phone
happens,
itself is going to be ever so slightly different, even if
Always.
it's the same size.
I was so like sure that the last one would fit this one. I was so wrong. I was like, oh, it's about the same size, but it's always the camera placement or the bezel or whatever.
Something.
Never the
Yeah.
same. That they get you. They get you.
They do. They do. I will say the iPhone 15. I mean, I sound like an Apple shill right now. I swear they're not paying me, but it's like, you know how Apple will say, "This is the best iPhone we've ever made," and it's like, well, it better be.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if they were like, "Last year's phone was the best iPhone we've ever made, but this one is still pretty good." They're never going to say that. It's always going to be the best iPhone, but this is the best iPhone I've ever had.
Okay.
It's a lovely little machine. Now, if you say, "Wow, I should get an iPhone 15," I'd say, "Why don't you hold off until September?" Because I get a lot of people who ask me this every year. Every year it's the same. Sometimes it's the same people, and I'm like, "Remember what I told you last year?"
Yeah,
if you need something today, this is a wonderful smartphone. If you want to buy an iPhone, can't do better than this. If you don't need it today, you might want to wait for something that could be like that much better, because we just don't know the details. Again, lots of rumored details about
charging and the battery life and charging, faster
battery
charging,
life.
supposedly.
Yeah, some of the material on the back that is more substantial, and there'll always be some like new version of Gorilla Glass where you can like throw it at a steel wall and it won't shatter, hit it with a hammer,
Yeah.
Although it has, not that I don't think I've dropped this phone in any dramatic way where I'm like, oh God, yet. I've only had it for a couple months though, so there's still time. But they have gotten a lot stronger. I mean, this was a huge problem, with the
older phones,
with the older phones. Yeah, I mean, any phone with a glass case back in the day, it was like, you better not drop it. We're inching toward perfection. So
exciting.
I'm excited for September, very much so.
I will be upgrading. Just because.
I will not, because I haven't even had this one for a year. But I'm still excited. I mean,
it's always exciting.
It's like it's like, what'd you guys innovate on? What have you been doing? What were you able to achieve that makes the iPhone 16 the best iPhone you've ever made? It's fun.
It's always fun.
And then I can, hang out with you and look at yours.
Yeah. Anytime, Sarah, you can look at mine. I'll be doing the AI thing on my phone and see if it does anything that I need. So we'll see.
Yes. Yeah. I know. Apple Intelligence. I mean, that's one thing that you've already pointed out, but just in case it's not perfectly clear, updating to the iOS 18 beta does not give you Apple Intelligence. That is something that is not rumored to come out until early next year. So that's just, something to know. It's probably going to be a pretty dramatic change when that happens. Right now, I feel like iOS 18 a little bit more incremental. Definitely different, depending on what you want to take advantage of. But, there's that.
Yep.
Eileen, this is a question for you because I actually don't have the answer. Because you're much more of the creative artist than I am these days. But we got an email from Kome. Hi, Kome. Kome is a devoted listener of Daily Tech News Show as well. So really nice to see you here, and thank you for the email. By the way, feedback at applevisionshow.com is where to send us emails. We love to get your feedback, questions, comments, all that stuff. Kome says, the theme music that you play at the beginning and the end of the show, very catchy. Every time I see your show's title in my podcast app, that song starts playing in my head. However, you only play it like a jingle for just a few seconds, and I only know that part. Those few seconds keep playing in my head over and over forever. Could you help me by telling me the artist and song name and sharing the link? listening to the whole song might still have the risk of giving me that earworm, but it would at least be less uncomfortable than the 4-second repeat.
I don't know if I can actually share it. So we sourced our theme song from Epidemic Sound. It's a music service that we pay for monthly, and the song is actually called "Let's Go on a Trip" by an artist named Bagel, Baegel. Now, I could share the link in our show notes for our show that you could download on Apple Music, but I don't know if it'll send you the entire link without having a subscription. But if you want to look up the track, just look up Baegel. And I actually haven't done that, to be honest with you. And the title is called "Let's Go on a Trip." So I thank you for enjoying that, because I was like, I think this is a pleasant song for our show. And every time I ask Sarah, should we change it? She's like, nah. So
I've always liked it. Liked it. Yeah. It just, it's funny. I probably knew that was what it was called because you must have shared it with me. Like, hey, what do you think about the song? When we were deciding that we were doing the show and putting our assets together. Yeah. But it is kind of a "let's go on a trip" type of song.
It kind of feels that way.
Let's pack a picnic.
Okay, and also just go on Google and put that in there. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube, so you can hear the whole thing. There you go.
There you go. Come.
Yeah.
The earworm might just become longer, but at least you'll know how the song goes.
Yeah.
Maybe one of these days we'll just play the whole thing at the end of the show and just here's some bonus content. If you really want to go on a trip, you can listen to the whole thing.
I mean, we pay for the service, so we can play it. But so in case there, it changes, right? You hear the beginning, but then there's a little bit more of a boop, boop, boop. There's more meat to the song. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For a little inside baseball, but having made original, and again, this is a song that somebody else made, but I've also, and I know you have, Eileen, too, worked with like audio professionals who make original music for something like a podcast or a TV show or whatever, and it usually comes in like full theme song, some version of it that might be like mid-show, like for a promo type thing, a sting out, where if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of like it's the song, but it goes like and da 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 da.
Yeah,
where you can time it to certain things to make it sound. It's kind of like there's all commercials have stuff like this. It's you don't really notice it unless you're the one putting it together, but so many times I have worked with somebody who made like the coolest full song, but it's like, when do we play the whole theme song?
Never do.
Never. Yeah. It's always like the first 10 seconds, or you use some version of that song. But it's like this beautiful song where I'm like, no one ever heard your genius work.
Oh, yeah.
Only tiny parts of it, but that's how it works.
That's how it works.
If we played a 3-minute song before our show every week, people would be like, all right, guys, we get it. Let's go back to the 4-second version. Co-make a deal.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I guess you could just forward, but no, nobody's going to do that. They'll be like, oh, I guess they're just playing music this week.
Right. Again, feedback at applevisionshow.com is where to send those emails. Keep them coming. So nice to hear from y'all. Well, I think, Eileen, Apple Vision Show episode 25 is able to rent a car in the U.S. because you have to be 25 years old.
Yes, we're a quarter of a century.
We are. We're a quarter of a century old, and we don't look a day over 24.
No way.
Isn't that great? Yeah. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap up this show. But thanks to everybody for listening, and those of you watching the live stream, good to have you. We'll be back doing it all again next week. Until then, enjoy all things Apple. It really is about 4 seconds, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, it is 4 seconds. And I'm glad that someone likes it just for that 4 seconds. We didn't do a different tag. I didn't even think. I was like, oh my God, don't ask me. I don't know what. Thank you for not asking me for like a fun out. I was like, oh, is she going to ask me right now? I don't have one. I have to think of one.
as I was saying it, I was like, well, all right, bye.
Bye.
Goodness.
Oh man, yeah. I thought we were going long, so I cut the this, and I'll do that next week. The Beats
no worries.
headphone. Plus, I need to figure it's actually different on the. Not that this show is for Android, but I was going to talk about it's like this for iOS and like this for Android, and I hadn't done it yet. And it turns out it's a little bit more complicated on the Android. You have to download an app. I was like, wait, what? Because for iOS, it just works. I literally took it out of the box and it just worked. I was like, oh, this is amazing. But then for Android, it's like, you have to download the Beats app, and I'm like, and then it's not working. I'm like, what's happening on here? I don't.
Well,
it should just work.
The not working part is annoying, but I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you need a Beats app, because Apple's not going to be like, yeah, just use it with any smartphone. They're going to be like, it just works with an iPhone.
Yeah,
and if you have an Android device, fine, we'll give you an app.
I guess you can use these, but use them with an app. Like, oh man,
right.
All right, fine. Anyway, not that it, for our show, for all purposes, it's a great thing, but I'll talk about it next week when I have better knowledge.
Good. I want to just because every time we talk about the Mac Mini, which seems to come up every episode, just because I don't know, I really don't mean to complain about it. For most things, it's fine. It's just that for certain things, I'm like, all right, that doesn't work. And, it gets a little weird. One of the things, just because I put so much stuff into iCloud storage, that I have so much hard drive storage on this guy. Mm-hmm. I just, I could move a lot of things out of iCloud, but I pay for I pay for the storage. And so it's like, it's just, as long as it's getting stored somewhere, I don't care all that much. But, so that's why this Mac Mini, I'm like, it's so good for like so many
Lots
things.
Of things.
Yeah. I mean, I've had laptops that were, I was constantly having to move stuff onto an external drive just because it was, the files I was, video files and stuff. I mean, that stuff will really add up. So.
Yeah, it does. I'm actually in the middle. I should have, at some point, maybe that could be a good topic for the show, but like I have kind of maxed out our Apple iCloud storage, so I've been moving stuff because I do a lot of video, right? And I just noticed that a lot of the video is starting to eat up space, and then there's just a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, oh my god, I use CapCut, and some of that is offloading on iCloud. I'm like, oh my god, but I don't want to delete everything off CapCut because there's a lot of stuff that I have there. It's just I have to kind of sort it out. But I also don't want us to upgrade to the next level of iCloud storage. What's the difference from like $6.99 to $29.99 or something like that? I'm like, we don't need that. I just need to do better with with my storage system, and I have an external drive, so I have a good 2 terabyte external drive that I can move stuff to. It's just, when you want ease to stuff, like, oh, do I really want, am I really going to need this video? Probably not, but it's nice to always have on your phone, but I guess I can take it off.
I mean, even there's a project that I was working on that I'm not anymore. It was a podcast that I was doing regularly some years back, and it wasn't a video podcast. So it was just, again, Logic Pro projects. But the raw project itself is huge. The MP3 that ended up going on, into Apple Podcasts was not a huge file. But the projects were enormous, like gigs, each one. Yeah. And I was just so, because my thing is just like, the one time I delete the project, there's going to be some reason that I need the project back, and then I'll only have the MP3, which, most people don't notice things like that, but like it's not even close to the sound quality of like my raw WAV files.
Yep.
And, and it's all compressed and, so I to this day, I have the project files on one of my external drives. In fact, it's
wow.
right here. Yeah, and it's like that we're not even doing the show anymore. Those people don't even know how I made it. They just were like, press play on new episode in the podcast app,
Yeah,
But
I
I'm like,
didn't know.
just in case, just in case.
Yeah.
How do you guys not have a NAS sitting in your house somewhere?
Oh, I just don't have one.
I have two.
Wow. Two.
I don't know.
Two. I have one just for media that serves the Plex server for the family, and has has backups for everybody's like pictures and things like that in their own little separate folders. And then I have one for work that has a complete backup of my Dropbox files, a full backup of all project files that I've been working on, everything that I've ever touched for any client. It's all backed up on the NAS in duplication.
And how big is it? Did you say?
The family one is 21 terabytes, and my
Okay.
work one is 28 terabytes.
And what are NAS units going for these days?
I have the Synology. I think the 918 is my work one, and it would be the 924, whatever the new year is. But they run about $600 for the shell, and then I was buying the whichever drive would you can go on Reddit and find which drives are best for MTHBs and or MTHFs, meantime between MTBFs, and then you get the cost per gigabyte or per terabyte or whatever, and you basically get the external ones like the Western Digital external ones. You shuck them out and you throw just the drive itself into the NAS, and so you end up getting like Best Buy will put a 10 terabyte Western Digital drive on sale for like $100. So you just go buy 4 of those and you throw those in your NAS. You just shuck them out of the Western
That
Digital.
is not
case
as expensive as I thought you were going to say. Yeah,
Right.
That is a good idea. Well,
Yeah,
the thing is
it's
like,
all in how you approach it.
yeah, totally. I mean, my like today, I have a pretty good system going for the stuff that I do. I will probably rethink, with the next project that I pick up that might be a little bit more complicated, that like the one I was describing. I mean, an external drive, as long as you label them, if you have multiple ones, as long as you know where they are, they're labeled appropriately. Or I mean, even if they're not, you plug it in and you go, oh, here's all the stuff I was looking for on that other one. It's like they work great, and you can shove 10 of them into a drawer here at my desk
Until it fails.
Has it failed
Until
for you?
then.
Yeah, I've had several external drives fail, which is why I upgraded the NAS, because if one of those drives fails, the other 4 will operate without it, and give me time to replace that drive.
Dang.
That's actually a very good point.
I know.
I've never had an external hard drive fail that I can think of, at least not something that really got me in hot water, but that's something to think about.
It was a conscious decision that I made when I started doing this professionally. When I started actually, having clients and having a business, stuff like that, I was like, I'm not relying on those. So my current setup is I have my Mac Studio sitting here. I have a 4 terabyte SSD, external SSD that is just my Lightroom catalog. That's the only thing that's on there is just Lightroom, because it's fast and I don't like waiting on Lightroom. And then I have a Lacy 16 terabyte drive down at my feet that is for all my bulk storage here locally. Both of those drives, those external drives, get backed up to Backblaze, and then I have my NAS is in my garage, and so I can over the network go to the NAS and reach in there and grab stuff out, and that's where I have a backup of my Dropbox and my iCloud and all my major folders for these 2 drives here. So
Oh, wow.
I'm
Now
just
you're making me rethink my whole situation.
I know.
Well,
I'm
I
obviously, Amos has thought this one through a little bit better than we have.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's probably overkill for just producing podcasts, but like Sarah, you were talking about having the source files for things. I still have source files for projects that I was working on in 2019 when I first retired from the military, and I was working doing stuff for Jenny Josephson.
Yeah, these
know?
projects go back to 2017, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time, when I was actively on the project, which spanned many years, that did make sense. today, I mean, no, even if somebody was like, we need your source files, I'd be like, too bad, you don't pay me anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I would be nicer about it than that. But
we started the Ritual Misery podcast in 2014, and I still have all the video recordings of every one of those podcasts, even though we, didn't even start doing video for years.
It's sort of like, if you've got the space to keep it, just keep it. You know, if for some reason it needs to be destroyed, that's a different conversation. But I'm with you. The only reason I don't keep things is just like, for example, when I do daily tech headlines, the file, which again, not a large file because it's a short show, but the file is stored locally on my machine. Then I upload it to the internet. You go through we put on Acast and it, propagates to all the things. And I will, so it's like, it lives. It is now a downloadable file on the internet. Like it's fine. There's no source file to keep, but I still keep them. I just do. Cause I'm like, I can handle the capacity.
Yeah.
Just what if for some reason someone wants, headlines from April 1st, 2020. Like, no one will, but what if?
I always, the first time I had to do an interview and I was editing it for someone else, and I was, and they wanted me to make certain cuts, and I was like, that didn't feel right to me. I was like, oh, I'm glad I keep all these source files. So when someone comes back and they're like, hey, you mistook blah, 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 I have the actual real source file, and be like, you're right. And I was told to do that by my contractual employer.
I did have there was one situation, it's probably happened more than once, but one that was like kind of a big deal, where it was this podcast that I was talking about, and the podcast had been published, and somebody that was an interviewee on the show had said the F-bomb a couple times, which was encouraged. Like, this is like, it was like casual and like, and the person was not comfortable with it afterwards. And it was like, the source file, I was just like, oh, easy. Like, I'll just bleep, 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 and then just repub.
Yeah.
So much easier than like screwing with the MP3 file, afterwards. And it would just be like a messy edit. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's the only time I can think of where it really did come in handy. But comes in handy.
It does.
And the bleep was on its own track. Very clean. Very clean. Nobody knew but me, but I was proud. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to bounce.
Yeah.
It is hot in the studio, so I'm going to go into the AC room. This was fun. Let's do it again next week.
Wait, where are we at with the recordings? Like, I know I'm probably needing to leave mine on.
We're still recording. We're still live.
No. I meant, sorry. The percentage of the recording.
It won't show us until we stop recording.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.